Have you ever wondered why? In some U.S. presidential elections, the candidate who wins the most individual votes nationwide doesn't always become president? It's a question that puzzles many, both inside and outside the United States. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most fascinating and often misunderstood aspects of American democracy, the Electoral College. Imagine you're watching election results roll in on a Tuesday night in November. You see the popular vote tallies, state by state, but then you hear commentators talk about electoral votes. What exactly are these, and why are they so crucial? The Electoral College is the unique system the U.S. uses to elect its president and vice president. It's not a direct popular vote, where the person with the most votes across the country automatically wins. Instead, it's a system where citizens vote for electors, who then cast the actual votes for president. Confused? You're not alone, but by the end of this, you'll have a much clearer picture. To truly understand the Electoral College, we need to take a little trip back in time, to the late 1780s, when the United States was just a fledgling nation trying to figure out how to govern itself. The Founding Fathers, meeting at the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, faced a monumental challenge: how to create a strong central government while preserving individual liberties and ensuring fairness among diverse states. They debated intensely over how to elect a president. Some argued for a direct popular vote, believing it was the most democratic approach. Others feared that a direct popular vote would give too much power to larger states with bigger populations, effectively silencing the voices of smaller states. There was also a concern about the potential for mob rule or the dominance of regional candidates who might appeal to a large, concentrated population but lack broader national appeal. On the other hand, electing the president by Congress was also considered, but that raised concerns about the executive branch becoming too beholden to the legislative branch, disrupting the carefully crafted separation of powers. What they needed was a compromise, a solution that balanced the power of populous states with the interests of less populated ones, and insulated the presidency from direct manipulation by either the public or Congress. And so, the Electoral College was born, a unique blend of direct democracy and federalism, designed to ensure that the president would have broad support across the nation, not just in a few dense urban centers. It was, in essence, a grand compromise, reflecting the complex political landscape of a new nation. So, how does this intricate system actually work in practice today? Let's break it down. First, each state is allocated a certain number of electoral votes. This number is determined by adding the number of U.S. senators a state has, which is always 2, regardless of population, to the number of U.S. representatives it has in the House of Representatives, which is based on population. For example, California, with its large population, has 2 senators and 52 representatives, giving it 54 electoral votes. Wyoming, a much less populous state, has 2 senators and 1 representative, totaling 3 electoral votes. There are 538 electoral votes in total nationwide, and a candidate needs to win a majority, specifically, 270 electoral votes, to become president. When you go to the polls on election day in November, you're not directly voting for a presidential candidate. Instead, you're voting for a slate of electors who have pledged to support a particular candidate. In almost every state, 48 out of 50, plus the District of Columbia, the system is winner take all. This means that whichever presidential candidate wins the popular vote in that state, even by a single vote, receives all times of that state's electoral votes. For instance, if candidate A wins the popular vote in Florida, they get all 30 of Florida's electoral votes, even if candidate B lost by only a tiny margin. Maine and Nebraska are the exceptions, using a congressional district method where electoral votes can be split. After the popular vote in November, these chosen electors then meet in their respective state capitals in December to formally cast their votes for president and vice president. These votes are then sent to Congress, where they are officially counted in January. The candidate who reaches 270 electoral votes first is declared the winner. This winner-take-all aspect is absolutely key to understanding why the popular vote can differ from the electoral outcome. A candidate might win the popular vote by a large margin in a few very populous states, accumulating millions of votes, but lose narrowly in many other states, thereby losing the electoral votes in those states. This can lead to a situation where the national popular vote leader falls short of the 270 electoral votes needed to win. We saw this famously in 2000 with George W. Bush and Al Gore, and again in 2016 with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. In both cases, the candidate who won the nationwide popular vote did not win the presidency, creating significant debate and discussion about the fairness and relevance of the Electoral College in modern times. The Electoral College also has profound impacts on presidential campaign strategies. Because of the winner-take-all system, candidates don't focus their efforts equally across all 50 states. Instead, they pour resources, time, and attention into a handful of swing states or battleground states. States where the vote is expected to be close and either candidate has a realistic chance of winning. Think Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Arizona, Georgia, and Michigan. These states become the epicenters of political activity, receiving numerous candidate visits, campaign ads, and voter outreach efforts, while states that are reliably Democratic or reliably Republican often see much less attention. This means that a voter in a swing state might feel their vote carries more weight than a voter in a state that consistently votes one way. So, why keep such a complex and sometimes controversial system? Proponents argue that the Electoral College serves several vital functions. It forces candidates to build broad, cross-regional coalitions, ensuring that a president has support from various parts of the country, not just concentrated areas. It protects the interests of smaller states, giving them a voice they might not have under a purely popular vote system. If it were a purely popular vote, candidates might only campaign in the largest cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, ignoring the diverse needs and concerns of rural America or less populous states. Furthermore, supporters argue it prevents the tyranny of the majority and promotes national unity by requiring candidates to appeal to a wider range of voters and concerns. However, critics contend that the Electoral College is an outdated system that is fundamentally undemocratic. They argue that it gives disproportionate power to voters in smaller states and to those in swing states, effectively devaluing votes cast in reliably red or blue states. They point to instances where the popular vote winner lost the election as clear evidence that the system doesn't accurately reflect the will of the people. Critics also highlight the possibility of faithless electors, electors who cast their vote for someone other than the candidate they pledged to support, although such instances are extremely rare and have never changed the outcome of an election. They advocate for a national popular vote system, arguing that in a modern, connected world, every vote should count equally, and the person with the most votes nationwide should always win. The debate over the Electoral College is a fundamental part of American political discourse, highlighting the tension between direct democracy and federalism. It's a system deeply rooted in the nation's founding principles, designed for a different era, yet it continues to shape the trajectory of one of the world's most influential democracies. Understanding the Electoral College isn't just about memorizing facts, it's about understanding the unique fabric of American politics, its historical compromises, and its ongoing challenges. It's a concept that beautifully illustrates how complex systems arise from competing ideas and how those systems continue to evolve and be debated. The next time you hear election results, you'll know that beyond the popular vote, there's a fascinating, intricate mechanism at play, shaping who leads the United States. Knowing how it works empowers you to engage more deeply with the political process and understand the outcomes, no matter how surprising they may seem. Thanks for joining us on this journey to demystify one of America's most enduring political puzzles.